World Beyond World by teacher Woo Myung. This poem is called Come Be Born in True Paradise and Live Herein. Do not come to me in order to know, for I know nothing. Do not come to me pleading in want, for I have nothing to give. Do not come to me thinking you will gain, for there is nothing to gain. I do not exist, but I am the great universe, and so I live as it is. I am simply as I am. I live in true paradise, for I am free and liberated. Eliminate yourself so that yourself exists no more. Become the universe and be born again so as to live as it is. That is where heaven is. It is to live the life of heaven. This is all you will ever need to know. This poem is called What is the Mind? The mind is not emptiness. The mind is not existent. The mind is not non-existent. There is not a single thing in the mind. Even this non-existence of things is non-existent in the mind. The mind is absent of what Buddhism refers to as the 5 desires and 7 emotions. The mind is absent of sight, hearing, sense of smell, and taste, as well as sensation. The mind is absent of any sense of having or not having. Yet the mind simply exists. The mind is all things. The mind has everything. The mind has nothing. The mind is not all things. This mind is the source. It simply exists as it is. It is non-existence. Even its non-existence is non-existent. Furthermore, the image of all creations is the mind. That one lives absent of mind means he has eliminated his existent mind. The true identity of the mind is the empty void. The mind is absent of any want, image, or shape. Such things only exist in a desirous mind. This poem is called Restrictions 1. Minds make people suffer because minds are a continuation of the mood of the life one lived. The mood of his life becomes his karma. Karma is a type of burden, and burden is a restriction of freedom, and restriction is a kind of confinement. Confinement is the opposite of freedom. It is to be bound within something. These things are karma and burdens of the mind. People should be liberated and return to where they should be in order to go towards truth. This poem is called The World of Divine Beings. Deep in the mountains, densely studded with pine trees, there is a lake. The long, straight, reddish pines are very appealing. They pierce the sky as if to boast of their height. They would have needed a lot of time to grow so tall. Hundreds of years old, they give off a lovely scent. Above the lake, high up amidst the rocks, a waterfall bursts forth and pounds its way down, while an unidentifiable bird flies round and round high in the sky. Gentle storks are sitting on top of the pine trees, here and there whiling away the day. White clouds that dot through the clear sky make the scene even more picturesque. In the water, which is so blue it is almost black, unidentifiable fish are swimming to and fro. And once in a while, this place is visited by people who want to be companions of a worry-free nature. I follow the steep mountain path, and after a long while, I come across an old, uninhabited house that looks like it is over 100 years old. I walked down the mountain, thinking about who had lived there, and I see deer leisurely eating the grass. The mountain birds chirp incessantly, and the sounds of the water is clamorous, but the water is crystal clear. After walking down for a long time, I come across a place where many people live. It is like stumbling into the Saha world from the world of divine beings. The world inside my mind is the Saha world, and the world I am born into after becoming one with the world is the world of divine beings. This passage is called the past life, present life, and future life. A person's past life is his present life, while his present life is his life in the future. Man lives according to what he has in his mind, according to his own standards. He lives now as he has lived in the past, and will continue to live on with that same mind in the future. In other words, a person's mind of the past, present, and the future are all the same. It is only when one eliminates the mind that one has that the past, the present, and the future will all become the one truth. This poem is called The Sound of Wind Chimes. The wind chimes of heaven ring leisurely. But people do not know this, and so they look to the sky and sigh. Listen, listen, I say to you all that life in heaven does not exist separately from life on earth. What is truly valuable is the life you live on the earth with each other's love. People are bound to their bodies, and so they childishly think that the lives they are living are everything. However, the place where everyone has come from is the universe. Its body is all of you. And so all of you are one and the same. Since you live your own lives in the world, a world where the distinction between you and me exists, but love does not. And since your lives are not of the will of heaven, man, and earth, what you are doing is seeking to do nothing more than satisfy your meaningless attachments. A life that is of nature's flow is not a life that is lived only for oneself. Nature's flow is about living together. This poem is called The Ferryman Stands Alone in His Empty Boat. The ferryman alone stands in his empty boat, looking around restlessly, waiting for someone to come. He rows his oar, for people are waiting across the river. Moments of happiness, moments of sadness, moments in marriage, so many countless circumstances. Though they treat the ferryman coldly, he treats them absent of mind. As those familiar people come and go, they leave behind their numerous stories, but the ferryman wordlessly undertakes his appointed duty, one that he goes about every day. Jane, who got married and went away a few years back, or Mary and Tom, who went to the city a few years ago, return as they may to their hometown. Only the ferryman remains at his boat unchanged. Time, like a calmly flowing river, passes by. It seems that even the ferryman is getting old and is finding it difficult to row his boat. A passenger on board pities him. How many stories does this river hold? Those who died while bathing, those who drowned due to its currents, those who committed suicide, those countless people who crossed this river carrying their stories. However, only the river flows silently without a word. Then and now, only the river flows. Man is like a river in that as time flows, the moment passes by. Man's mind comes and goes. He does not know that the source just exists as it is. All he has are his stories. All he has are his human stories. The creations of this world flow on as they are. But man does not know that it is Buddha who knows that they flow on as they are. This poem is called True Love. True love is a love of purity. It is without condition. Only the mind of God as it is true love. The love that man speaks of is not true but false. True love is without discernment or conflict, nor does it have judgments of good and bad. To always love as it is, that is true love. To do so is the greatest love. To do so is nature's flow. Only God can truly love. This poem is called The Reason Man Cannot Live Like Flowing Water. History and the numerous different stories of the past, images that do not exist, are in one's imagination. People live with the countless stories that arise from their greed, but these are all just dreams. A dream is an illusion that does not exist, though it may seem to exist, and just as it exists, yet at the same time it does not. These stories are born from delusions. Human life is born from a delusion, and it is lived in a delusion. Man tries and struggles to possess time that has already passed. He tries to turn back time, but it is futile. Living in the present reality and being in the present is dull. Living out the present holding on to countless images is burden. This is man's karma. Although it has been said that man must just live and just exist, they are all just words. Man cannot live like the flowing water because of the pictures he has in him. And with them he judges and discriminates what is right and wrong. These judgments and discriminations arise from the conceptions and habits. A tree must be a tree. The shadow of a tree is not the tree. Likewise, if man is living in the world, he should live in the world and nowhere else. Why then has he drawn and stored the world, the shadow of the world within him? It is greed from the mind of possession. Man who cannot hear or speak the news of the world does not know the true will or purpose, and there is no one who tries to know. Far from repenting, all people are bellowing that they are great. It is no different than a scene from a tragic play. It is laughable to see them building and destroying castles in the air. Within the plays they themselves have made, man is not in the world because he does not have the consciousness of the world. But inside the play he himself wrote, he must live like a squirrel running in his wheel, like a character in a video. He does not have life. An illusion is not alive, it is dead. This poem is called The Hungered Affairs of Human Life. Man lives out his lifetime running amok with hunger, in the hungered affairs of human life. Exhausted from hunger, he eventually collapses and dies. It was a hunger that did not do or achieve anything, a false and non-existent illusion. The hunger burdened him and made him busy, but nothing remains from it. Only a person who has true energy knows the futility of a hungered life, and only he knows the true world. Although hungered people have sung songs and told stories of life being that of a weed, of a floating cloud, of a bubble, of a springtime dream, they were just songs and stories of their hungered greed. They did not truly know truth. This poem is called How to Find the Mind of the Universe with Ease. The mind has always been non-existent. That it is non-existent means that it exists. Non-existence and existence may seem like polar opposites. They are one and the same. The mind is neither existent nor non-existent. When man tries to see the reality of the mind, it is non-existent, for it is man who is seeing it. But in the world of the mind, its reality is that it is existent. This mind is what brought forth the whole of the universe, and it is this mind that nurtures it. Thus, it is according to this mind that the universe revolves. Though it is neither existent nor non-existent, the mind is the master. The mind is what governs man's life, which is why man is a slave to fate. The mind cannot be had, nor can it be seen, but it is the very foundation of the universe. What is the mind? The highest power and the greatest spirit that every religion speaks of, Buddha, God, Allah, the pure void, the wondrous existence, are all names that were made by man to refer to the mind. So what is exactly the mind? It is emptiness. It is the whole of creation. It is the universe. The mind came from nowhere, nor does it have somewhere to return to. It is the Alpha before the Alpha, the Omega after the Omega. Look to the celestial forms of the universe and see for yourself what this mind is. Look to yourself and to the earth, and ask yourself where the mind came from. Look at where it came from and where it will return. Man's mind will not die, even though he may die, for the mind is originally existent. Man places his mind into this existence, and thus he is unable to break free from it. He is yoked to it. He has yoked himself, no other. He lives in his self-imposed confinement, which he will continue to be in even after death. Such is the foolishness of man. Man is ignorant because he lives within himself. It is when man is no longer a man that he will become complete. But he does not know this. So then, what is the mind? To find the answer, you must look to yourself. You must ask yourself, who am I? Is this body, this shell, really who I am? You are not your body, you are in it. And it is this you that is your true self. This true self is what you should find. This true self is not dependent upon an image, and is yourself. Where is the mind? A silent person is walking along the road, but he is not silent. In fact, he has much to say. One listens closely to hear what he is saying, only to find his words are the emptiness. The emptiness is silent, but no one seems to know that it has a will, a purpose. Man is ignorant because he is shackled to himself. Do not judge the wind that blows, or the wind that lingers, but take stock in its true will. Where does the wind come from, and where does it go? When the universe and its creations scatter in the wind, they too are the wind. It is this wind that man lives chasing after, which is why his life is one that is in the wind, and so is he. The self has been neither existent nor non-existent, but has remained as it is. However, man lives bound to his self. Let us live having shed ourselves. Let us live free of them. Let us think about this. The mind originally exists, so it remains. Even if you were to abandon yourself, let us think about where that mind is. Every creation in this world is the mind. Every existent and non-existent creation is the mind. Each individual that is of the mind is the whole of the mind. What could this mind be, and where is it? Thoughts are born of the mind, and those thoughts are the thought mass, which is what prevents man from dying even when he is dead. Thus, one's thoughts and one's mind are not separate, and neither are the body and the mind. Neither are the body and thoughts. So then, where is the mind? The body and the universe are not separate either. So if this is the case, then where is the mind? The whole of creation and the universe are not separate, and heaven and man are one. So then, where is the mind? Man and all creations are not separate. So where is the mind? Life is of the mind, and what deeds this mind does are also the mind. So then, where is the mind? The mind is every creation in the universe. It is the mind that causes mischief in the world. Man's mind exists, but it is a sort of thought, and this thought is what causes so much turmoil within him. The true mind has no turmoil, but simply is. The life that man lives in the world is his mind, and so is his death. There is nothing that is not the mind. So then, where is it? If he were to not have his own ideas of the mind in his mind, the mind would be easy to find. If the mind were to exist in his mind would be no longer existing. Therefore, the mind would be what he sees and what he hears, just as it is, in the absence of mind. The mind is a drifter. It is as it is. The mind is the universe itself. The mind has no discernment. Man is the one who discerns the mind. The mind is not located in a single place, but it is the whole of the universe. Man has put in great efforts to seek out the mind, to know what the mind is, to know that the mind is one, and that it is the universe. The mind is as it is. The mind is the state that is free of self. Close your eyes and go up to the universe. Look to the earth from the universe. Go to the moon. Go to the stars. Go to the sun. The mind is neither existent nor non-existent, but you have lived binding yourself to it. The mind, the thought, is still, but only you are busy. Silently, you must become the foundation and remain in that state as it is. This poem is called Death. Death is the disappearance of an existent image. Death is the end of activity, the end of sustaining an image. Death is the end of an image's life. Death is to disappear from the world according to condition. Plants are born of their own accord and die of their own accord. Animals too are born of their own accord and die of their own accord. All come from one and return to one. This one is the universe. It is the eternal truth. The whole of creation is one, and this one is the eternal and everlasting foundation of all creations and their progenitor. This poem is called Blessings. Blessings are a sort of having. Everyone tries to have blessings. But the blessings man wishes for come from his own mind. One's mind is the memories of his actions and all of his thoughts. Whether or not blessings come depends on those remembered thoughts. The blessings of the sky are the blessings of heaven, abilities gifted by heaven. Human blessings are man's blessings, blessings that are gained through one's connections. Longevity, wealth, health, virtue, and a peaceful death, often called the 5 blessings, are blessings that come from connections. But the making and breaking of these also depends on oneself. Blessings do not come from praying and bowing, and yet during times of prayer, people do not add more to their karma, which in itself is a blessing gained. Blessings come from the thoughts one has. Depending on what those thoughts are, one can be without worries. And it is from these that all things happen and are gained. Though they cannot be seen, they are blessings. But people try only to gain and have, and no blessings exist within such minds. A blessing gained is to be free of worries. This passage is called, What is the End of the World? It is a common misconception that when the end of the world comes, the world will disappear. It is said that when the end of the world comes, countless people will die, while those who have faith in their religion will not. Although many people predicted the time when the world will end, no one got it right. because they did not know the true meaning of the end of the world. The end of the world, when all people die, except for the faithful who are taken to heaven, will never come. This misunderstanding has come about because the Bible and the Buddhist scriptures and other religious scriptures have been wrongly interpreted. A certain religion believed that their followers would physically levitate into the air and be taken to heaven. They waited for this event with over 500 media representatives watching, but the levitation never happened. The true meaning of the end of the world is the end of man living in the false world. It is man being reborn as truth in the true world. Levitation means man's consciousness, which had been confined in his mind world, is reborn as the true mind, the consciousness of the great universe itself. This is the true meaning of levitation into heaven. The Buddhist scriptures, the Bible, and other scriptures are truth, but they were all written figuratively. The reason each religion has been split into so many different sects is people are unable to interpret them with the mind of truth, and instead interpret them with their own conceptions and habits. The end of the world is the time when falseness becomes truth, and it is also the time of salvation. Unless falseness becomes truth, the world and one's false self will disappear. This is the end of the world that people speak of. This is death. Falseness is the world and all other innumerable things man keeps inside his mind. It is the picture world. We must be reborn in the true world after the picture world disappears. No one knows the true world or the false world, which is why people do not know the true meaning of the end of the world and live in fear. People are so foolish enough to believe that only what is theirs and their own false ways of thinking are right. Those who are consumed by their own religion or philosophies must find what is truly right by learning to accept other things. If one is not true now, isn't he false? It is illogical for someone who is false to say he is right. To put it differently, one must become truth. Interpret the true scriptures truly. Know its true meaning, and he must become the true truth. Isn't this the way to live at the time of the end of the world? We must keep our eyes wide open to whether a method to become truth exists in the world. We must not meet the unlucky fate of our world coming to an end.